Okay, so welcome everybody to the Wasabi Ventures EIR special feature night, Tuesday night, August 18th. We're live with Melissa Brennan, the founder of Sravel, S-R-A-V-E-L. It's a social travel app. Melissa is the first founder of a Wasabi Ventures portfolio company based in Arizona, and we're just going to have a little get to know you session tonight, and the goal is for you to have a better understanding of how the process works after the academy, and hopefully see a little bit through Melissa's eyes. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
Where is Melissa?
Can you see me? I'm there. There we go.
Okay, there's a bit of a lag. When I stop talking, she shows up, and she's a whole lot better looking than me. So I'm just going to ask short questions and let her go. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I am 23 years old. I just graduated, well, a year ago from Arizona State University, and I studied broadcast journalism. I go to USC. I'm in the Marshall School of Business there, getting some business knowledge to build my company with Wasabi. I love to travel, so that's kind of how this whole thing came about, to build a social travel company.
Very cool. So what are a couple things about you other than your, what you studied and that you're working on Sravel that people might be surprised to learn about you? Some cool things.
Well, kind of outside of, one thing with traveling I'll stick with was I stepped foot on the continent of Antarctica 7 days before my 21st birthday. So I was pretty cool. And then the other thing outside of traveling is if anyone is interested in women's soccer, they won the World Cup this year. I played with Julie Johnston, who is number 19. So soccer is a big part of my life as well.
Very cool. So Sravel, what is Sravel and where did this idea come from?
Yeah, so Sravel is a social travel company geared towards college-age people, 18 to 24. And what users can do, they can log on to our app and they can create and share custom itineraries, budget their trips, meet up with friends, and have access to young people around the world. And I kind of came up with this idea while I traveled. I did a lot of traveling when I was younger without my parents, kind of with people that I met abroad. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I could figure out where people are traveling? Because especially once you get in the space of traveling, people keep traveling. So I would meet somebody in Spain, and then in a few months they'd be going to Japan or Thailand or come to the US. And there was really no way to connect with them, because if you put on Facebook, it just gets diluted down.
So Sravel came to you as an inspiration because you've traveled obviously to a lot of places, and this is a need that you and other fellow travelers had, right? Like, how can I improve this experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been to all 7 continents and 70 countries. So through that time, I've seen this problem firsthand, and I've talked with other people too who, my friend was traveling in Thailand, and he realized 2 weeks too late that one of his good friends was going to be there at the same time. So it's something where there are a lot of social media platforms and social networking platforms, but they're not to tell people where you're going. And especially with travel in this day and age, if you put your travel plans on Facebook, some people see it more as bragging and they get annoyed. And we're trying to create a lifestyle and a brand where, if you've been to 70 countries, telling people that it's not bragging. It's okay, well, I've been there, you've been there. Let's talk about it. How can we make the next person enjoy their trip and plan their trip?
Awesome. Really cool. So I think that's a great description. So could you outline a sort of a use case? Like, let's say, I've got this app in my hand right now and I'm planning on going somewhere. What would that experience be like? Because it hasn't gone live yet, but when it does, what's it going to be like?
Right. So you download it, obviously, from the App Store. You have it in your hand. If you have any travel plans already made, you can update your status. So you can say, I'm going to be in Michigan, I'm going to be in Alabama, I'm going to be in Japan, wherever it is. And if all of your friends do the same, it'll pop up to you if any of your friends are going to be in those locations. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is you can look at different itineraries. You can look at other user itineraries. You can see itineraries that I've gone on, other people in the Sravel network has gone on. You can look up location articles. So if you heard something really good about Rimini, Italy, you can go on and see what there is to do there. What do you buy there? And things like that. Then you can plan your trips. You can invite friends on trips. And there's a few other features that we're working at right now.
So like if I was going to Italy in a couple weeks, I could get on there and I could see who's been to Italy in the past and where they went and what they liked. And I could say, I'm planning on going to Italy. Here's where I'm going, and kind of leave it out there. So anybody going to be around? Anybody want to go with, kind of thing?
Exactly.
Cool.
And and if using Italy as an example, you'll also be able to see, so if you're my friend on Sravel, instead of you being able to look at my friends list to just see their names, like a lot of social networking sites have, it'll be friends by location. So if you're going to Rimini, Italy, you can see, do I know anyone that's been to Rimini, Italy? And then that's another connection.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm really curious, Melissa. So you said you went to ASU. How long have you been working on this, or when did this idea come to you? And up until, getting into this program, what are some of the things that you did to try to advance your entrepreneurial idea?
Yeah, so like I said, I was broadcast journalism at ASU, and which is obviously journalism cronkite. And there was a new entrepreneurship lab that was created in the journalism school. So I got invited into that, and I kind of built up on my idea. Didn't really know what I was doing. And to pass the class, we had to apply to the Edson grant through ASU. And I was one of the winners of that. So that gave me validation. That gave me mentorship. That gave me funding. That gave me endless opportunities, which ultimately led me to meeting TK and Wasabi Ventures. And
so let me just interrupt. So when you got done with that program, where were you in terms of your concept development, your product development? What was like the ending point from everything that you did prior to this?
Prior to meeting TK and Wasabi Ventures.
Yep.
So I was in the Edson program at ASU, and I was reaching out to everyone I could. I was looking up different programs. How in the world could I, because I'm the only person working on Sravel at that time. What can I do? And being in journalism, I didn't really know. So I just constantly reached out to people, read different books, researched online, and met with a few mentors and whatever. And then I was led to TK and Wasabi Ventures. So it was a lot of on my own.
You didn't have a product at that time. You had an idea. You didn't have a team.
All I had on paper was I created mock-ups. I had the idea in my head. I had mock-ups. I knew exactly who I was targeting, what it would do, what problems it was solving, and the drive to do it. And then that's all I had.
Cool. So I remember the day. I think it was somewhere around December 7th or 8th. It was a Tuesday morning. It was at Alliance's, a networking group in Scottsdale, when I introduced you to TK.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, wow, I really like Melissa, her ideas, her energy. And so then we set up a call. And so what happened next? What was, your experience? What were the conversations that you had that led you up to forming an agreement, up to the point where you had an agreement to begin working with Wasabi Ventures? What happened next?
Right. So I met TK and we set up a phone call. I told him everything that I knew about traveling, my background, what I had, and he gave me the contact information of other EIRs and the academy, and we quickly got me set up in the academy. And from there, we just had other conversations, and I really pushed that I knew exactly what I was doing, and it was a good idea and why it would work and why I'm the one that can build this. So from there and from doing the academy, that's when the EIR position came to be.
Cool. And so when you first came into the program, what were some of the first steps that you took in kind of getting set up?
Oh, it was great. Right away, I think I immediately got hooked up with the development team and with Ron. Ron is, I don't know his name per se, but he's like the tech. He overlooks the development team.
So Ron Emmerich is Wasabi Ventures director of engineering, and he kind of functions as the chief technology officer for incubated companies.
Yeah, and he pretty much right away after we talked and we made a deal and did all that, I was put in touch with him. And from there, he introduced me to the development team and the design team, and we really got going on building Sravel and the structure. And it was a constant conversation about my ideas, my visions, and how we can implement that into working technology, especially since that wasn't my background.
So I remember some of those early conversations, and at that time you were using Balsamic, right? And you did some very detailed mock-ups, and you kind of went through an iterative process with Ron about let's zero in here on what the minimum feature set's going to be for launch. And how long did that process take?
Well, it took a little bit longer actually, because my original idea was for it to be a website. So my original mock-ups were for a website. So when I started talking to the development team and we decided we were going to go for an app, I had to completely redo that. And coming from somebody who has never obviously built an app before, it's really hard even for mock-ups to think about the buttons and the placement and every little detail. So Ron really helped me with that. The development team, design team helped me with that. And that probably took maybe a month, a little over a month. And then we dove into the development.
Cool. And so you've described yourself as a non-technical founder. And what was it like when you first started going through the development process? I mean, talk about the mechanics of that. Exactly how does that work when, you're deciding on developing a feature, or that next round of development is done and it's time to look at it and review it? Physically, how does that process work in the Wasabi Ventures world, and what was your role in it?
Right. So we work on a platform called Unfuddle where I directly work with the developers. And since I didn't have a tech background, it relied a lot on me to ask questions. Mm-hmm. So anytime I had an idea, I couldn't just throw it at them, send them over the work, because there's a good chance that it just won't work like that. The technology doesn't exist for it to work like that. So it was a lot of communication, a lot of back and forth, and staying on top of things and the management of it, especially not knowing the tech side of it. So I would say that's kind of what my role, and it was making sure that they knew what I was saying and making sure that they knew what I was saying with the disconnect of the lingo.
Got it. So do you feel like you've got a little more lingo going today?
Oh yeah.
So where does the product stand today?
So we're almost to see what we want to go forward with. And the design is complete, and we're about ready to get it into the Apple Store and ready for launch. So
in maybe a month or something, it's going to go into the App Store?
Yes. Well, to the public, ready to go. The version that we want, it should be October 1st is when we're thinking. Everything will be good to go. And it takes time. So
how much time was it from start to finish, from when you came in with your concept and your mock-ups, let's say the mock-ups now for an app, from start to finish products in the App Store?
I would say February, probably we hit it on the head. So what is it now? August? How many months is that? Whatever.
6-7 months.
Yeah. So that's the time that it took. And that is also including, some people took like a week break and whatever, yeah. And they executed it phenomenally. I mean, when I talk to other people at business school right now, and they said that's incredible, and they've done really good work.
Have you had to pay for any of this?
No.
Okay. So what's next? What's coming up next for Sravel?
So we're getting ready for the launch. From the back end side, everything's pretty much figured out. Front end side, we're getting ready to go, figuring out the marketing plans. And when the app is available on the App Store, I want to have everyone who has an iPhone, this is going to be on their phone. So that's what we're focusing on now.
So when we're making this transition from the app is in development and it's kind of conceptual development to it's about to hit the street and real people are using it, how has the process of working with Wasabi Ventures shifted? What kind of new support or guidelines have you received, or what kind of process are you going through?
Yeah, so there's other funding opportunities when you make the flip for me. So I just hired 2 interns that'll be really implementing everything from the marketing side. Outside of the development, which is what Wasabi Ventures is, especially for incubation, that's their end. My end is to validate it. So we're really pushing to validate this by December. Is this something worth getting more funding for, getting more support, getting more people involved? So that's all on me. So that I'm working for. That's what my interns are working for. And that's the goal at the end of the day.
So just to interject here, so in the same way that Ron worked with you on the technology team, how would you describe the role that TK, Chris, and now myself have been playing in that marketing process?
Great. I mean, not only for the mentorship, there's been a lot of great ideas from you guys, and being able to, I'm not marketing either. I wasn't technology, I wasn't marketing. So getting all those ideas and being able to pull them together, not only the 3 of you, but with some of the other portfolio companies, figuring out how we can work together and how we can strategize to make it beneficial for everyone. And that's really been a great part of working with Wasabi is also the networking with that and the doors that can open from you guys.
So how are you working with, or how have you benefited from talking to some of the other portfolio companies?
So there's another portfolio company that's planning to launch at Arizona State University as well as we are. So we've been in talk to figure out, well, we have X amount of dollars. How can we put these dollars to use and make both of us successful? Essentially, I'm travel, they're not travel. So even though we're targeting the same people, it doesn't hurt the other one. So we're really trying to work together and make the most of our dollar and get more people to download our apps.
Got it. So what I understood you to say is, so you're going to launch it, and really the first stage after launch is, we just had a question come in from Mark here, who's in the room with me in Phoenix, talking a little bit about a fellow E-Liancer. He was probably there the day that Melissa was there. How are we going to assess the product market fit? And is that in fact what those first 3 months are for?
Yeah, I have a really good idea about the exact user that will be using this. But within those 3 months as well, we want to explore right now we're going to target college age people 18 to 24. So those are people that I can go out to Arizona State University and I can find them in classes and I can find them in Greek life and in organizations. But there's also a lot of other avenues that we are going to try to target. So there's military folks. There's a lot of different avenues, and absolutely those 3 months are our time as well to reach out to those and to see, are all those other pockets that I don't know will use the app, will they use the app?
So it's kind of like the 3 months is in fact the product market fit, and we're staging an experiment to learn, do people care? Will they use this?
100% validation. Is this worth anything? Is it worth anything? Will people use it? Great.
And then let's say that's all successful. What kind of things have been discussed for what might happen after that?
There's a number of things could happen. It kind of just depends on how big it goes. If we get 3,000 downloads, if we get 5,000, 10,000, how fast we need to execute this. And there's just so much that could happen. There's so many possibilities. So I'm really just focused on getting to December and proving some validity to what I'm creating. And then as it gets bigger, as the users come, that's kind of the next step. That's where we figure out everything from there.
Cool. So a couple more questions here before we throw it open to questions and answers to everybody out there in the ether. When it does go to question and answers, you can either type them through chat and I can ask Melissa, or maybe she can see them herself and answer directly, or feel free to unmute yourself for a moment and ask the question, unless CMAR tells us that doesn't work for some reasons of interference. So what are 3 things that you've learned in the time that you've been in EIR about entrepreneurship, about yourself, about being a founder, having a startup? Just what are 3 things that you've learned that you're surprised to say now?
Yeah. One definitely is use your network, and you don't know anything unless you ask it. I've done that a lot since I've started this, is especially in Wasabi Ventures. Somebody in this network has an answer to what I'm looking for. So it's as simple as that, is use your network, ask the questions. There's a lot more that goes into the development of an app than people think. So I've learned that. And yeah, the last thing is, every single person that you talk to about your idea, your app, will have a different reaction, and that's a really good thing. So I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people about my idea, and I've tailored it every single time to those people's needs, and how can I make one app that will fit everyone that I talk to. So and it's doable, and you can do it, and that's what a successful company is. So
based on your experience up until now, what advice would you have for people going through the academy right now?
I would say use the network, because pretty much being in the academy, you have a lot of the same resources that I did in terms of connecting with people and the people that you have access to. So really reach out to them. I know everyone is willing to help. Everyone in Wasabi, any question that you have, you will find somebody with the answer. And that's how to build, your network and your company, your idea, whatever it is. That would be the biggest thing for people in the academy.
Great. Well, that's good to know. And I don't think that everybody necessarily realizes that. So the academy is a class, and it's a weekly experience, but there's also probably over 1,000 people out there that have been through this before that are still able to be connected with through Wasabi Ventures. And of course, Chris and TK and now myself are always available for consultation, email, Slack. So basically you're saying be the squeaky wheel. Ask
Absolutely. And Slack is a great resource. Now that everyone's on Slack, that ping someone and they will get back to you. And that's a huge, huge thing that you could take away from it.
Cool. So we're starting to get some questions coming in. Why don't I go ahead and throw them at you, Melissa? Can you see them? So did you
open the chat? Are you saying that to me?
Yeah, I'll just throw them out.
Okay, perfect.
It'll make it seem like you're still on the Jerry Springer show here.
Yeah, there we go.
So when you pitched TK, did you pitch some kind of a revenue stream, or what was that intended to ultimately lead to?
No, the first conversation I had with TK was kind of who I was, what my idea was, and why am I the person to execute it. It was that simple. It was pretty much pitching him just to get a phone call, where then I could explain the revenue model, which I don't think I ever touched on with him, solely because they're switching from a website to an app. There was a lot that went into it, but we dug down into that after.
But downstream, when it's talking about revenue model, what's your ultimate vision for this?
Yeah, so we're exploring different avenues, but primarily it's going to be affiliate programs, display advertising, sponsorships, and affiliate.
You're going to be able to book travel?
Yeah, so that's way down the line, but 100%. Booking of the flights and trains, buses, flights, everything can be done from Sravel. So that's the end goal. But that will be times away, but yes.
If we get there. Cool. So we got a question from Gabe, and his question is, as a founder, where do you believe your technical skills and strengths are, and what role do you see yourself in as you transition over the next coming growth stages?
Yeah,
I
think that my strength is the project management and the speaking and the content aspect of it. If I have people that know what they're doing, I can manage it and I can stay on top of it and I can learn what they're doing. So that's what's happened a lot with the development side of things, is now it's a conversation. Now it's easy. This is what I want. Does it work? Yes, no. And we move forward. So that's definitely one of my strengths that have helped me out a lot, is really being eager to learn and to oversee the process and how it works.
So I think maybe what Gabe was also asking in there is, what kind of help do you need on your team, and do you see yourself as wanting to continue leading your startup into the future through growth, or are you going to need to surround yourself by other people to help you, or where do you see yourself in this going forward should this succeed?
Yeah, I definitely want to stay in charge. I want to run it. I know my vision, and I know why this will work and why people will use it. And I definitely want to keep that passion driving the company. But I absolutely will need to bring people on board. I think that's, some of these next steps coming up. And like Jeff, we just brought on 2 interns, and they're phenomenal. They're really passionate. They're driven. They're excited to be a part of it. And that's the company culture I'm trying to create. And I do want to stand behind it.
Perfect. So next comment here from Chris Eldridge. Great idea for a study abroad office to push to their students so students can connect who are traveling to the same area. So just a compliment. Brilliant idea.
Thank you. I like that.
Does anybody else out there have a question for Melissa, maybe about the academy, about an idea that they're having, wanting to flesh out? Throw it up on chat or unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
I think I saw one on chat here.
So we have a question here live in the Phoenix room from Valerie, who doesn't have a computer. So go ahead and tell me. During the phase of development that you've been through up until now, has there been any UI, UX testing, even if it was internally, to kind of get to where you are now with what will launch?
Yeah, so we've had a few beta testers. I think we've had maybe 10 to 15 going over the app and making sure the bugs are out and how it works and is it confusing or not. So yeah, we've been doing a little bit of that. And I'm sure while we're waiting for the app to be approved by the App Store, we'll have more and more beta testers on it.
Cool. This next one is one that I know we've discussed directly, and it's what about safety, like the recent issues with Airbnb? Safety, privacy, trust. How do you anticipate dealing with those issues?
Right. So right now, it's really nice because since we're not booking and we're not giving exact times and places where you're going. I mean, it'll be Melissa Brennan's going to Michigan or Jeff is going to Alabama. I don't think there's that many safety issues with that. But after we launch and we see more in-depth detail about where people are going and the exact times and places, that will definitely come more into play. And there's a few different avenues that we've looked at going forward. But for right now, to prove the validity, where my mindset's at is that it's not really an issue as of right now.
Not an issue, but when the time comes,
it will be. Absolutely. Anything in the travel space, if you're telling people you're not going to be home, there's obviously some concern. So moving forward, definitely that's going to come up more to the surface. But for now, it's kind of more in the backlog.
Cool. More questions for Melissa?
I think I saw one here about where'd you get your interns?
Yeah, it looks like, is that a question that you're asking, or are you suggesting to Melissa that she look for her interns there?
Where did she get them and are they paid? There's 2 questions up above.
Okay, so Melissa, where did you find your interns, or how? And secondly, are you paying them?
Okay. Yes, I'm paying them. And second is I found them through my network. So I went to Arizona State University. I was part of a Greek organization, and I knew a girl that she's really interested in startups. So I reached out to her, similar with the other intern. So it's pretty much been my network and being close to my university and friends and the outreach in that and knowing their interests. And
so if I can just comment here too, one of the things that I think Melissa's done really smart is Melissa's got a really large network. So she was part of a Greek organization, and she was, part of a sports team. And so she has her own particular network. But when she picked the interns, she looked for other people who were like her, that were close enough to her. I remember her describing it. I trust them because she's my best friend's girlfriend. Yeah. Because a great friend of mine was in the same organization. So these are people that I know, and I know their circle. I trust them, but they have a different network than me.
Exactly.
So I can do one thing, and if they just do the same thing as I do, we'll get 4 times bang for the buck. I think Melissa's been really smart about picking people for their networks and their skills. And I think she's being really humble because they're not just anybody. The girls she picked to help with her kind of email marketing and social media management had helped manage the campaign of the individual who became the student council president. So ASU is the size of a city. So that was obviously someone that's a fairly savvy marketer, and Melissa shopped around and found somebody like that. So I just want to make sure that Melissa's good choices are reflected here, and it's not just, hey, I went out and found a couple friends. She was really selective in who she found. How are you paying them? Where does that money come from?
So that was part of the deal that I made with Wasabi. So I have some funding for that that we're taking out of our funds.
So she's getting a fund to support these initial launch tests, this beta test. And if we pass that, what do you think is going to happen next? Or what? It hasn't been agreed to. But what do you think it will be?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
So although we haven't got there yet, if you prove market validation in concept, what do you think the next phase looks like for you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, it's really endless. So if we just hit our goal, I'm sure there'll be some other funding and other resources put into Sravel. But if we surpass our goal by 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever it is, I think that could be more opportunity and bigger funding and things like that. So it's endless. Which is what I really like. That's another thing I really like with Wasabi Ventures. It's not like they just throw a check at you. It's really you're a part of the family. You're in the system. If you don't know something, you will be able to find it and get moving forward.
More questions out there for Melissa? So what's one thing that you wish would have gone better? Let's open ourselves up here and leave room for self-critique. The academy, the process, the development, give us some feedback. What could we have done better?
I mean, I think in terms of the situation that I was in and where I got from A to B, everything has gone phenomenal. What I will say is for other people in the position where I started, it would be cool if more people had access to Wasabi Ventures, because in my network, a lot of people weren't aware of what Wasabi Ventures was. And I would say it's the reach. But other than that, once you're even in the academy, I mean, the resources are endless. The people are endless. And I just think it's a great program.
So let's maybe, to follow up on that, if Chris Martin is there, maybe Chris could unmute himself and tell people a little bit more about the academy and the network, and if they have a question, how to reach out and get that question answered by someone that's not in the room with us tonight. Chris, are you there?
Excellent. Yes, I am here. I feel like Melissa should have done our promo video. I feel like I shouldn't even have made a promo video. I feel like Melissa could have just talked for 10 minutes and that would have worked. So, so to talk to that, so kind of what a lot of you have gotten thus far. I mean, a lot of you, we've got global people on here. We've got alumni on. We've got the Phoenix and Flagstaff Corp. But a lot of you have gotten the resources. So you've seen PV Works. You've seen the curriculum, you've seen things like that. But what you really haven't seen is the alumni we have, the resources. When you reach out to TK or Chris, the network, or even Jeff now, the network we have of individuals we can really pull from. And that's kind of what we're getting tonight. Melissa's kind of talking into. If she had a problem, Wasabi can either, solve that problem or find the person to solve that problem. So being in the academy, all this, and I don't know why it's not spotlighting me. That's not fair. All this is available to you guys. So as you guys kind of build and work through the process, there's this large network out there that we integrate throughout these 15 weeks that's available to you. So that's kind of deeper issues we haven't really even gotten into yet, since we're only a few weeks in for most of you on this call. But we do have alumni on the phone right now that come back, and a lot of them are doing interesting things in the space. I can speak personally. I don't know if Melissa's done this yet, but I know Vidfall partnered with some of our alumni that have gone on to build companies, not necessarily with Wasabi, but have stayed close to the Wasabi family. And now we have companies partnering. So there's a lot of cool stuff that kind of gets created when you put a lot of smart people in the room, which is kind of what we did here with Wasabi.
Absolutely.
And
That's a long way around the barn, but I think that answered that question, Jeff.
Yeah, excellent, Chris. That's really helpful, and I think it's one of the pieces that goes unseen. Because the cool thing about this model is it's kind of a sign of the times, right? The people in the room, quote unquote, are all over the country, all over the world, and they're part of a network that's been building and accumulating over years. And you don't necessarily see them, so you don't know that they're there, but it really is a real live and relevant access point for contacts and references and business partners and potential employees or vendors or whatever you could imagine. And so the only way you find out, if you've got a question, you answer the question. Ask the question, right?
Exactly.
So we got a couple more questions coming in here for Melissa. Let's jump to them. Have you considered reaching out at any point to airline employees? They have travel benefits but don't make a lot of money. Maybe they have similar interests. She could help with this. This is Brenna here in Phoenix.
Yeah. So, like I said, there are so many different avenues and the users that we're targeting. If the airline employee were to be around the 24, 25-year-old range, absolutely. I would say where we're at now, I would reach out to them and they could be a user and we could figure something like that out. As far as older airline employees, the only reason why, as of right now, we're not targeting them is because we're really focused on budgeting travel and different itineraries and more fun. And if you have a family and bigger things, you want to travel more luxury, we're probably not the place where you're going to be going to look at your travel needs.
Perfect.
Flight attendants, employees, all of those, they're typically 25,
Yeah, so Brenna says that the average age of at least new flight attendants and airline employees is probably in the segment, and
Yeah.
So sounds like a great idea when the moment arrives, right?
Yeah, and I actually know a few, so I can connect with her. But I know a few people, and I've been thinking about reaching out to them. So I'm sure we'll figure out somehow to get them in our targeted area for our time for validation.
Brenna, why don't you type your email into the chat box and Melissa can take note and connect with you offline. So Ryan Heck has a question. What's the value proposition for beta users? And then what is your metric for downloads to determine success and going on to the next level?
Okay, well, our goal is to hit 3,000 downloads by December. So that's our validation. That's the number we're putting on it that if we can do this in a small amount of time, it'll be about 2.5 months, okay, maybe this is something that people want to use. And what was your other question?
So what's the value proposition for the beta users? What's in it for them?
Right.
You want to get feedback from them about whether they like it and what to do differently, but what's in it for them in this beta version?
Right. So when I'm reaching out for people to beta test, these people are usually people that are in some type of network of traveling that this would be tailored to them. And from the feedback I've heard about people actually being the beta testers is that they're excited about it. They've heard about this new social travel app that there's not that many out there. And that's kind of where they're coming from, is they get to be one of the first ones onto a new kind of industry, this social travel industry that is going to blow up, but it's not blown up yet.
Perfect. So here's another really good question coming from Gabe Cruz, who's on the line. Gabe is participating here in the Academy in Phoenix, and he is the founder of a really cool company called Duel, which is an online platform for people conducting gaming competitions. And he's really doing some impressive things. And his question is, if you could have found the Wasabi Ventures Academy in your junior year, would you have dropped out and just not finished school and come and done this full time, or?
That's a great question. I think that would go on to personal needs. If well, I don't know. I mean, school is really important for me, and I thought I know I needed to graduate, and I did both for a year, and I knew that was going to happen. But if you have done your research on why your company is going to make it, if you get Wasabi Ventures on board, if you really don't have a reason to stay in school and you think that this company is the way to go, then I mean, being in Wasabi Ventures, you have all of the means to do that. And I don't think it's as big of a risk as just kind of dropping out of school and doing it on your own. So it's definitely more of a personal reason. I probably wouldn't have done it. But yeah.
Cool. So Melissa, you're going out to LA. What are you going to be doing out in LA to drive Sravel?
Yeah. So, well, like I said, I'm going to business school at USC down there, which opens a huge networking opportunity for me down there. I'm going to focus really to infiltrate the business school, infiltrate the Greek life system, and get Sravel, the brand, on that campus. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing out there, while building my knowledge about how to build apps and how to be a business person, especially because my background was in journalism. So I'm going to be doing the two together. And yeah, just getting people to know about Sravel and what we're about in our brand and our lifestyle. That's pretty much what I'm going to be doing out there. So,
what's your greatest area of help right now? If you could have one person come help you, are you planning on having somebody come join your team? What would be the first person that you'd have join your team when that time comes?
What position they would be, or
what skill area would they fill? How would they complement you?
Probably business savvy, somebody who can make quick business decisions. If we're in a meeting and the company says, well, we need you to do a sector of handicap travel, I want somebody to be able to okay, well, this is how we're going to do it. That's a great idea. This is how we'll do it. This is the time that we can do it by and move forward. And that's what I'm trying to do in business school right now is get that business skill. But I think that it's really important from where we are, how I'm positioned with Wasabi, is getting somebody with a business background to join the team. Perfect.
Cool. So are we running out of questions here? Because we've reached the 45-minute mark, actually 43 minutes. It's been a lively discussion, some great questions. Before we say goodnight to Melissa and jump back into our respective review sessions in Flagstaff and Phoenix, Melissa, is there anything else you'd like to say, or are there any last questions out there?
Well, I'd like to say before we go is if you guys can write your email if you're interested in being a beta tester or you want to download the Sravel app, send us your email and we'll shoot you an email to be a beta tester, or when the app launches, we'll shoot you an email and you can just download it straight to your phone.
Melissa, why don't you put your email in the chat box, and anybody that wants to do that can be
you guys
on the
can
list.
Here, okay, so yeah. So there's Facebook. Like us on Facebook because everyone knows that helps. And yeah, shoot me an email if you want to get on those lists, and we'll get that going.
Cool. I want to hop in here while we still have a second and say I think this was a great high energy. I love the call. I think great job from Jeff and Melissa. Thanks for coming on. And I want to know personally, what do you guys think about these calls that we're doing? This is one of the first EIRs we've brought on. It's a long 15 weeks, and we can put a lot into these WV family events. So Slack message me if you'd like tonight, if you thought things could get better. What do you want to see? We have a very interesting family event coming up next Tuesday. TK is going to come on and speak about an interesting opportunity that a lot of you are going to potentially have. So that'll be a very fun session. But let me know kind of what you thought of this and how we can improve. So I just want to say thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Jeff. And have a good night out there in Phoenix and Flagstaff. And to all the alumni and global cohort, let's keep grinding, guys.
Thank you. And everybody give it up for Chris Martin, who keeps this train and so efficiently on the tracks and moving forward. Great job, Chris. Great job, Melissa.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Catch you offline.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.